I'm Libby Galt, and supporting me here tonight is my husband, Mike. I'm here to share a bit about why supporting the Sandra J. Wing Foundation is so important. First of all, I must share that I didn't hesitate when Sandra asked me to speak to you tonight. Okay, that's not completely true. I had to ask myself if I was comfortable possibly crying in front of a bunch of strangers. The answer was both yes and no. I have become emboldened by enduring the deepest hell that is cancer and treatment, but there are many things I no longer hesitate about. Most of them have to do with conquering my fears, such as public speaking, and many of them have to do with taking very good care of myself. Supporting this great organization was not in question because of the access they help provide to services that contribute to minimizing side effects from cancer treatment. You see, I used to put my own health, my own well-being aside in order to take care of others. It was part of the false narrative that I had created about taking good care of those around me. I was moving through life thinking that my role as a mother of 2 daughters, ages 10 and 13, and my job as a preschool teacher for 20 years was one of making the ultimate sacrifice, my well-being in exchange for the greater good. And then my world completely fell apart. It began on December 8th, 2017. That was diagnosis day for me. During this fog of early diagnosis, my first sense of clarity was my own children and family. My husband and I made the trip home that day after diagnosis. The children arrived home. We sat in the living room telling them about me having cancer. As you can imagine, it was emotional. Less than a year and a half prior, my in-laws had come to live with us. My mother-in-law had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer stage 4. In case you don't know, that is a terminal diagnosis. And she died in our home, surrounded by all of us. It was unreal that so soon after, we would be telling our children that I had cancer too. After testing, surgery, and pathology, I was given my official diagnosis of rectal cancer stage 3. Here are some of the numbers. I started chemotherapy 4 weeks after my surgery. After 3 rounds of that, I had 27 days of radiation along with chemo, followed by 9 more rounds of chemo. I missed 1 year of work, and I had 6 procedures during that year that required anesthesia. And the most important number, an 80% 5-year survival rating. This is good news. In just a few short sentences, I have outlined the most traumatic and physically painful period of my life. I found that there's a huge disconnect between the information said about cancer and treatments and the actual enduring of it. While it can generate a number of mostly hilarious jokes, rectal radiation is in fact not funny at all. And while an 80% survival rating is great news in terms of cancer survival, and I'm grateful for it, I went from being a normal person to being a person with cancer, which I, of course, did not want to be at all. No longer could my reason for living be self-sacrifice. I had to become my own reason for living. The care of self, this would become my purpose, and there I was, immersed in treatment, while determined to do as much as I could to mitigate the side effects. Almost immediately from chemo is the nausea. This was certainly pervasive the entire time. As the nausea continued, radiation brought on fairly extensive fatigue. This was, as many describe it, not just being tired. It was a complete draining of even the smallest reserve of energy that I already did not have. Then I developed neuropathy, more slowly. This is a numbness and tingling in the hands and feet, finding the effects worsening around the 7th round of chemo. My feet and lower legs were more impacted than my hands, but both areas were compromised. I still drove a car, I could type, but cutting up tiny little vegetables for a meal was torture. I also was unable to go back to wearing soft contact lenses because my fingers lacked the feeling and movement needed to gently remove them from my eyes. This discovered only when I went to remove them and struggled to do so safely. Additionally, I took a tumble down a half flight of stairs at home, which I know can be attributed to the numbness caused by the neuropathy. In all of this, there can be rays of light, shining their hope with warmth and care, and this was what the Sandra J. Wing Foundation was for me. Acupuncture, acupressure, guided imagery, therapeutic massage, I was invested in this self-care wholeheartedly, and the foundation provided the backbone of this care. I was able to gain ground and healing through the foundation's providers. The benefits were physical and emotional as I connected with practitioners that were committed to giving me space to find a path towards healing. This was a contrast to the certainly vital and well-intentioned cancer treatment that feels mostly damaging. I am still working with some of the providers as we continue to help resolve side effects. They were and still are a shining light into the deep, dark abyss that is cancer. I hope that in sharing my story, you will be moved to support this organization, certainly to know that you might lift up someone during their darkest times, that you might be able to provide a shining light. The reward from that could extend beyond what you can even imagine. Thank you to the Sandra J. Wing Foundation. Thank you for casting light on my darkest times.